Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We have a lot of conversation, a lot of things, a lot of interesting comments that often end up coming up over that way. Of course, you can also post your likes and reacts that we do appreciate, such as RJ and Monica Cervantes already jumping in over there. Do appreciate that. And a lot of conversation about the things affecting us here in the Borderland, or beyond in some cases, but certainly issues that are either central to us here, originating here, or are definitely going to have some impacts here. So there's a lot to be talked about here today. The heat waves do continue on. I believe we got that weather warn at least through the end of this week, but maybe a little bit of a cool down over the weekend, but we still have a lot of responses happening in our region to that, either programmatically, such as cooling centers continue to be open, those fan donation programs I keep mentioning. More issues and more responses also from, say, vets in the state talking about how to keep everyone safe, including your pets, because if you can't walk on the pavement, they can't either, is the shorthand version of that. And also the heat continuing to be up, metaphorically speaking, as the city's ethics committee review does continue for the second day this afternoon, and the instance of the gas card misuse allegations. We'll talk a little bit further about that and the progression there so far. Also, how the heat is affecting not even just, your issues and getting out and around outside, and how you might just not want to be outside at all, but also the usage that we are seeing here, records being set in their own right for total demand in the Borderland, what those implications are and what that means, as well as there's also questions about how power is being generated has also been brought up. Interview today also going to be with the Disabled American Veterans, DAV, about veterans unemployment. Definitely an issue that is, near and dear to a lot of people, or at the very least one that is brought up a lot, but always more interested in what is being done about it as opposed to just a rhetorical point, because anyone just saying, well, what about? Okay, let's talk about what they are actually, some organizations are doing. So I also have Amber Banda with the Rock On, absolutely, and Austin Redfern. Oh, hey, what's up with you as well? And was up to Talk El Paso fans. Not quite the long version of there, but in any case, we got a lot to talk about, a lot going on. And of course, like, take that input. That's one of the better ways to comment throughout the progression of the show. Add your 2 cents over on the social media, Facebook primarily, because that's the one we've had up the longest, but also find us under similar Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and twitch.tv pages. They're to Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. So whatever works for you, whatever is the best way for you to see, interact to your level of satisfaction, whatever works best for you. Again, don't be holding the phone in between your knees while driving, or vice versa, because you can always comment on the show afterwards. Some people come back like in the middle of the night. I swear some of y'all don't sleep, and comment on some of the things that were said during the day, which, hey, if that's your bag, I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying I don't get it. But hey, it's there and available. And of course, we have all the recordings for the previous ones. You can always go back and see. As Joseph Ida Beza Gardner with the High on the Wave, as always. We appreciate y'all chiming and tuning in. So let's get right into it. Yeah, it's hot. And just to make one other thing a little bit more clear here, we're not going to try to turn this. We've kind of been in Friday territory all week, because people talking about the issues behind the heat and their considerations of it has taken over a little bit. We're going to try to keep it local, at least for this very last day of the week before we get into Friday. But these drag out beatdowns that we've been having on these very national issues and not the local aspects of them is, we're not going to be doing that too much today. Just making that disclaimer now. But we are expecting at least those triple digit temperatures for the next 2 weeks, as some are saying. And also learning to let it go. Absolutely. Mondovan kind of saying not hot, just toasty. That would be the preference, and I think we're expecting to hit currently from our news partners at KFOX 14 about 106 at the moment. So we're still going to be getting there. Maybe not those ridiculously for our area above 100, but I mean, still asking again, people, pets, and both of those things still focuses here. But specifically some of the responses from our news partners at KFOX 14 City of El Paso to keep cooling centers open during extreme heat wave, because it's okay. We're still better off than Phoenix or other areas who, if I heard that correctly yesterday, I do believe that they hit a record high low with it getting as low as only in the 90s overnight. Like that starts getting when you can't even escape from it just by the night showing up. It's to be a serious problem. So those cooling centers are continuing on. The ones available Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday through Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Sunday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. The Galatzan Recreational Center, Marty Robbins Recreation Center, Valle Bajo Community Center, Nathan's Tobin Sports Center, and the Italio Acosta Sports Center. So all across different parts of town. And also, of course, the El Paso Public Libraries. All of the currently open branches, some are closed right now, among other things. And again, for even those in need of transportation assistance at cooling centers, call 311. That's also the number to call for any of the information regarding the fan donation program, because, I mean, this can be having serious impacts on people, and that's why a cooling center is going to be kept open, at least for the near foreseeable future, it does feel like. And yeah, RJ saying, among other things, remember, right, that happened here in 94 with the hot morning lows. And yeah, and Trinidad asking, Phoenix gets hotter than El Paso because they are a lower elevation. Is that correct? There are the geography around them. They're in a high flat desert. There are some mountains like in the distance, but they're kind of in a not quite a bowl situation. One of the real aspects, and one of the reasons I say that there are certainly things that can be done absolutely in a local way, but also in aggregate to change the environment. One of the, or RJ putting it there, urban islands that basically Phoenix is solid pavement, right? Anyone who has been there, particularly in the middle of the city, there ain't a whole lot of green spaces. Not that it could necessarily be supported. They've done some like fountains and things, which have other implications for that whole Colorado water system usage. But basically, it's a sea of concrete. And the thing about green and greenery is that it's not just aesthetic, it's not just nice, it's not just an impersonation of 17th century urban aristocrat aesthetics when you're talking about, say, the Regency era and those things like that having lawns was seen as a sign of wealth and nobility that is still kind of carried over into now. Aside from all of that, concrete just reflects heat, meaning that all the heat that arrives there, nothing's really absorbing it. It's just kind of it's still around. So that's why Phoenix gets hotter than even its immediate surrounding areas, because geez, I knew someone who lived off like 10th and then someone else who lived off 110th. So that's just a huge sea of concrete, which has been addressed. I knew someone else who lived out that way, that they lived in a development that was specifically designed and required to be that you kept on any particular plot of land, you kept 70% of the natural area on it intact. So meaning like, yeah, you could build your house and you could have some small spaces, but that otherwise the rest of it had to be kept. You had to keep the cactus and the natural things there. So yeah, and among other things, RJ saying, I can walk around Veterans Park and notice the temp drop as soon as I get around the grass. Now, grass doesn't always make the most sense. I mean, for active areas, sports places, stuff like that, it makes sense. The whole American well-manicured front yard has, again, implications going back to the way that the French displayed their obscene wealth during that period of time under the Sun King, Louis XIV and such. But even like trees and like tree-lined streets, we have some of those. I've kind of been in the neck of the woods that I've moved to. I keep saying recently, but it's been about a year now. But I'm still impressed by it because those can go a long way to helping defray it and make it that the environment is more habitable in your immediate area. And so that's a lot of stuff that like Phoenix doesn't have, or some other stories that have been shared by some of y'all coming from the Arizona area. And I know we're not immediately local here, but differences, comparisons between El Paso and others. I'd say El Paso has done a decent job in focusing on parks. I mean, some of the notable ones, they start talking about like Madeline Park, among other things, or like was being mentioned there, Veterans Park, other places they're congregated to and available, not maybe totally equally around the city, in order to provide that relief, and not even just as a aesthetic, go out, touch grass, those kind of things, but as a necessary break in the temperature and kind of as a heat sink in its own right. And so that's part of the issues that involve with Phoenix, but there have been other, of course, issues out that way, again, with the water usage, again, shared by a listener to the show about how their hometown in the area is actually now banning grass yards, particularly in front lawns, but just saying like, nope, we ain't doing this anymore. We're not quite that extreme out here, but again, we've had very different water use issues in our particular area. One more note I want to get to before we get to that next segment on the continuation of the ethics complaint hearings for the city of El Paso is that veterinarians in Texas seeing a rash of dog injuries thanks to the heat. That's not even just in our area, but a lot of the other parts of it. The triple different temperatures make the pavement scorching and can burn puppies' paws. So if it's too hot for you to put your foot on, it's absolutely too hot for them to put their foot on. So just keep that in mind. So keep your walks early in the morning or evening. It is too hot during the day. Little shoes can help if your dog can stand them. And they note that the trick is getting them to wear them. So just be careful, be mindful of that, if you wouldn't be caught barefoot out on it, don't make anyone else that and love or care for, in any case, do it either. Also, more conversations about parks, such as, there are good and bad things with like Album Park, or Album Lake, rather, as RJ's putting it, during the monsoon season, as well as Eric von Holstein-Rathla with the thumbs up, sunglass, and wave emojis. Appreciate that. We'll talk more about what's going on in the city of El Paso, besides, of course, keeping the cooling centers open, the heat turning up, continuing on with those ethics committee hearings involving the gas card program, the now one that has the kibosh put onto it, for now anyway, and there are other maybe allowances being available. And, just the hearings go on. We got some quotes from the proceedings that were going on while we were on air yesterday and into the evening after that point. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot more conversation about the things going on and affecting us here in El Paso, so stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Ruli's International Kitchen, great little gourmet dive, and you've never tasted fusion like this before, unless, of course, you've been there. Find, of course, 4176 North Mesa, not too far down the street from our studios here on North Mesa, or give them a call to make your reservation, particularly for those brunch and celebrations. They are open, of course, on the weekends for brunch and dinner service all the way through 10 p.m. on Saturday, and again, opening at 11 a.m. for brunch on Saturday and Sunday. Again, give them a call, 915-313-4806, 915-313-4806. They've got always new features at the front door on their specials menu. And again, don't forget to check out those taco takeovers. The next one coming up tomorrow from 9 till midnight. Check them out and all of their great services. Ruli's International Kitchen.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
No crashes, just a lot of slowing in your El Paso traffic right now, including I-10 eastbound, which is getting even slower from Vinton down to Red. Now it's up to a 26-minute delay. Eastbound Montana from Yarborough out to Zaragoza, 6-minute delays. Northbound Mesa from the downtown exits up to Wrestler is a 5-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by ComparianInsurance.com.
Like to shop local? Go to ComparianInsurance.com. Their agents are local insurance experts finding you the right insurance at the right price from national carriers. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents. Expert advice.
Hey, El Paso and surrounding areas. This is Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. Thank you for making us #1 in new car sales again. We make buying a new or certified pre-owned vehicle fast, fun, and easy.
Our goal this month is to break our all-time sales record, so Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat will do whatever it takes to make a deal. Get 10% off MSRP on 2023 Ram 1500 Low Start trucks, $4,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator trucks, and super low 1.9% APR for 72 months. $2,000 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Wrangler, plus 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, $3,500 off MSRP and 2.9% for 72 months. Worry about your trade or credit? Don't sweat it. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect, or if you owe more than the trade is worth. Get huge savings and more for your trade during the Make This a Summer sales event at Sunland Park Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat at I-10 at Sunland Park Drive or online at sunlandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso Strong. Includes factory rebate and dealer discount with CTNL. 1.9% APR is $14.71 and 2.9% is $15.15 per thousand finance on select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom on 3800 Maddox in El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Get $2 off admission by going to azgunradio.com. That's azgunradio.com.
At Consumer Cellular, you get the same exact coverage as the largest carriers for up to half the cost. Same thing, up to half the cost. Less money for the exact same thing. Hope this is clear enough. Consumer Cellular. When freedom calls, they're here to answer. Switch today and get a second month of service for free. Go to consumercellular.com/free month and enter promo code free month. Half the cost savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 5 gigabyte data plan and unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon May 2023. Promotion subject to terms and conditions.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun.
The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, whatever works best for you. Be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of commentary and different conversations, including those likes and reacts coming over there that we certainly do appreciate, including James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Amber Banda, Robbie Flores, RJ, and Monica Cervantes. I appreciate that if it works for you. If you appreciate the ability to talk about the things that are affecting us here in the Borderland, even if particular subjects may cheese you off, as often they are as well, but it's so important to talk about the things affecting us here, either from local sources or from the outside ones that often happen, the important ones to get into there. So if you appreciate that ability to drop those like, drop of the react, give us a follow, give us a like, give us a share, tell a friend, etc., because having the conversation, making sure we put out information, important topics that I think involve or worth delving into, and then of course we want to hear from you all. So phone lines a little bit later in the show, as we usually do, but of course keep those comments coming, including more conversation about structure and things around here, such as on the yard, besides Willie Jenkins saying hola, fellow Pasoans, John Browson saying most yards in El Paso are on the small side. They'll tend to agree. And even some of the bigger parks, like, I forget the name of the one that's down near Sunland Park, that triangle one that is right before you get into like the major shopping area down the hill. It's got some bare patches where I can imagine that, particularly with this heat, it's been difficult to keep it completely working. And RJ saying some of the new neighborhoods, you can mow the yard faster than you can get the mower and weed eater ready. That sounds about right. I guess I don't apply in the same way you're talking about, but I apply in I have a quote unquote yard and grass in the back. It's been what I've managed to seed and keep alive with very studious watering on it, but we'll see how that actually works. I think the fact that there's some trees and shade is about the only reason I have anything besides dirt in the backyard right now. But also some more interesting, James Holmes also saying they also irrigate it often, so it's like a semi-swamp cooler. That's an interesting one, though. This has been a story that I've actually been thinking about for years, but haven't done the full look into it. That there's actually was a process I do believe the county of El Paso was going into, because irrigation is not just a different way of watering. It involves rights and accessibility, particularly to the canals, because, like, sure, in your own yard, you could, I guess, leave the hose on long enough, but whether it would actually be enough to truly irrigate, flood it, so to speak, is a difference. I mean, you would eventually get there, but the impact on your water bill would also be, hesitate to even try to estimate that. But that the county was going through and actually buying up some of the rights in order to, part of the water system. I was aware of that years ago, hadn't really thought about it most recently. It might be something to look into what the status of that is, because it's something that you have access to. The canal comes along with the property rights, but if you sell them, as some have been doing because, hey, they're paying you for something that you just had for free anyway, wonder how that's worked out for some. Anyway, other conversations going on there. Manda Mancanda saying that state of Texas apparently making economic ties with France. I mean, there often are things done. I think El Paso has a sister city either in France or Germany, technically one of those agreements type things. So, I mean, there has existed things like that. Be interested to see which part you're talking about specifically. But also, again, speaking of the heat and other aspects of it, John Browson with a, let's call it maybe ungenerous. One last thing on the heat itself here. There's an interesting article from our news partners at KFOX 14 about plumbers going out and dealing with some of those issues, because, I mean, particularly with those with swamp coolers, if the if the lines aren't working, it can make it very difficult. And I know more than a few people in our areas that have been making it, well, if you don't have the AC going, you want to get that serviced as soon as possible. So a lot of breaks, and so interesting view on them. But speaking of the heat turning up, some heated exchanges, maybe not in terms of total language choice, but in the questions about the viability of it. And Manda Mancanda clarifying on the governor's website. I'll take a look at that one there about the economic ties, so to speak. I mean, the governor's always touting the latest initiatives that he's got, so I wouldn't be surprised about that. but in the city of El Paso and at City Hall yesterday, and going to be going on again today. The Ethics Review Commission getting underway in that complaint that was filed by both previous guests in the show, George Zavala, a community advocate, as well as filer of the complaint against his city council person, Cassandra Hernandez. That hearing again continuing today, because there were a lot of technicalities. Our news partners at KFOX 14 do have a decent bit of the breakdown specifically on it. Specifically, that one commissioner did recuse herself because she was appointed by the city council person in question, and that there was a couple of statements, supposed to be 15-minute cases, these opening statements for them presented by either of the parties. So there was also some members of the community that also signed up. There was, as I kind of thought there was going to be, community input, and some, was noted by our news partners at KFOX 14, all the people who signed up to speak Wednesday spoke out against Hernandez. And while people were able to share their thoughts on the situation, Chairman Casey Williams said commissioners were not allowed to use their statements when curating a decision about Hernandez. Again, there's the 4 major options that are available: either a letter of notes, basically saying, hey, here's how to correct this in the future, don't do it again, and then increasing levels of severity of okay, this is unintentional, but you know you did it wrong, or an intentional aspect of it, all the way to up to recommending a removal from office. Now, they cannot remove someone by their own decision, but that would then go before city council, and well, we'll see what would happen if that were to come to pass. In any case, after the public comment, it was that Zavala again and Hernandez are given the 15 minutes for opening statements. And what Zavala said, again, quoting directly from our news partners at KFOX 14 in the room as it happened, quote, "I am filing this to please hold elected officials in all levels to the highest ethical standards. Why do that? We entrust our elected officials to be our voice, to have a responsibility to do what we want to be done within our community, to uphold the standards of consolidated expenditures that will reduce our taxes. When I say taxes, folks, you have to understand, at the end of the day, everyone that is listening to me, that can see me, that is in this room, we are paying, even if it's a simple gas card. So one thing I do want to mention is the reason I'm not filing this only for myself." And he got very passionate about this, and a little choked up, saying, I'm very passionate when it comes to my community. "Our voices have not been heard, and this is why I'm doing this, to have our voices be heard, the voice of the people who struggle to pay their bills." And going on that, Hernandez was given 15 minutes to share her opening statement, but and they ended up essentially not doing that, is my reading of the situation, having not been in the room as it was happening while we were on air, the beginning part of it. But basically went to a series of questions on the commission about potential conflicts of interest. Again, I'm going to quote directly from her statements on this, saying, quote, "I have ran 3 different races for city council, and it's no secret, it's public record. Commissioner and Chairman Williams, he was a political opponent of mine who ran for office, and I don't want to go into the details of that race and that campaign from 2017, but, I want the record to reflect that you are a political opponent of mine." Again, referring to the head of the city's ethics department, and Williams in his own right responding to that, quote, "I ran against you, yes. I don't live in your district anymore. I haven't lived there for 5 years. I never ran against you again. Never ran anyone against you." Correct emphasis there. "Spoke to the city attorney about the issue, and she agrees that there is no provision in our ethics code that requires my recusal." And there was some new evidence that was presented during this. Like Representative Hernandez provided some of her personal financial statements and documents, saying specifically, quote, "They are my personal financial documents that I would like to present. It is my duty here to present those facts that would substantiate my claims." But that kind of threw a monkey wrench into the proceedings of that day, it does seem like. Saying specifically that, among other things, that Mr. Zavala is visually impaired. He's one of those disability advocates in town as well, and has been on this program in previous circumstances, talking about those work at Lyft issues, other issues involving the city, and also some of our other airways on other programs, talking about what is going on with those advocacy and essentially disability rights issues. So they said, and the chairman said, it would give that presenting it during this day would not give Zavala enough time to be able to go over the new evidence, as he's again just review a document immediately and in the same way it was presented there. So the commission did accept the piece of evidence, despite it being submitted the day of the hearing, as noted by our news partners at KFOX 14, but the commission had to go into executive session so that the city staff could help Zavala go over the documents. And they were able to share some of their testimonies that are coming back from executive session. And there were some questioned by commissioners. But again, the hearing does continue on today. So we'll see what comes out of this. The part I'm unclear about at this point in time is what then the back end process. There was a, 18-day or so from the time it was filed until there was a response that was required from the city council representative, and then from when the hearing was set. So I'm sure there are certain statutory, or at least laid out timeframes about what will happen after this point, and then again, potentially going to city council for any of the further implications. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. As again, this hearing is planned again to get underway again today, 5:30, and not sure if they're taking public comment today, but again, you can still have the updates, and we'll bring you more on that as we get into the show tomorrow from the reporting from our news partners in the room there. So let's take that next break. And coming out of this break, you're getting into our interview for the day about veterans unemployment and some of the resources available for them from a particular organization in general. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Phone lines here in a little bit, but in the meantime, we'll have more discussion about the things going on or affecting us here in the Borderland. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. El Paso police have released new information on the deadly pedestrian crash killed a woman in her mid-20s in central El Paso last night. It happened in the 1600 block of West Paisano at about 9 o'clock last night. According to police documents, two pedestrians ran across the road, crossing in front of eastbound traffic. According to police, a woman was hit and killed. The second person kept running. Some students in the Las Cruces Public School District started their first day of school today. Meantime, in El Paso, students still have about a week of summer vacation left. For students in the Isleta and Socorro school districts, students return on Monday, July 31st. Students in the El Paso school district return on August 7th. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Lane restrictions on the I-10 eastbound continue this afternoon from the Upper Valley. It's Vinton down to Red, a 25-minute delay on the I-10 eastbound right now. Paisano Drive southbound between Washington Avenue to downtown and Mesa Street. That's a 7-minute delay. Slow traffic Mesa Street from the downtown exits up to Wrestler is a 5-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather warned for heat for your Friday. Also heat advisory in effect for your Friday. High around 106 for tomorrow, 10% chance of an isolated storm. Not as hot for the weekend. That's the good news. Partly cloudy, breezy on your Saturday, 10% chance of a storm, high around 101. Partly cloudy skies for your Sunday with a high around 102. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
No, not now. That sounds like it's going to cost you.
I know what to do. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, I could have the money in my account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Make the right choice for your home when it comes to windows and doors. For more than 20 years, the Window Depot has provided the best price and biggest inventory on in-stock windows and doors. The Window Depot is open to the public, so whether you're a homeowner or a contractor, you can shop the enormous warehouse. Browse the shelves with over 1,000 vinyl windows, interior and patio doors and skylights in several varieties and sizes available to go home today. Shop thewindowdepot.com or find a location near you. Lowest prices, biggest inventory.
Foo Fighters,
Fall Out Boy,
Kelly Clarkson,
Kane Brown,
Lil Wayne,
Lenny Kravitz,
Miguel,
Public Enemy,
Sheryl Crow,
Travis Scott,
Tim McGraw,
TLC,
30 Seconds to Mars.
Get your tickets now.
For 2023 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
AXS.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, whichever one works best for you. You don't have to be on all of them by any means, but we have some people on most of them here, including what Mondo Moncada found what you were talking about here from the office of the Texas Governor Governor Abbott signs economic development statement of intent with French Minister Becht. Probably not saying that one right. But in any case, as part of the recent economic development mission to Germany, the UK, and France that was undertaken, among other things, Governor Abbott and the First Lady in France for the Bastille Day military parade, and along with others. So yeah, signing that economic development statement of intent with the French Foreign Minister of Foreign Trade, Economic Activities, and Foreign Nationals Abroad, Oliver Brecht. So promoting business investments, job creation, innovation in both France and Texas. I mean, this is a broad, sweeping kind of thing. Not sure how much is actually like tied up into it, besides like hey, this would be a great idea. So we'll see if anything comes out of this one in particular, but it's a bad thing to have ties or like hey, we're willing to work together. It's better than the alternative of saying unfriendly statements. Let's just put it that way. But speaking about things and economic development, employment is, of course, the personal aspect of that. And it's often said that a recession is when your neighbor loses their job. A depression is when you lose yours. But focusing on employment for particularly certain sectors, particularly veterans, I know it's near and dear to a lot in our community. So I got the chance to talk with DAV, Disabled American Veterans, about their efforts, particularly in recognition of the upcoming Hire a Veteran Day, which is a thing that's coming up next Tuesday, technically. So I was able to speak with them a little bit earlier this week about some of those considerations, some of the issues surrounding it, and both the benefits, challenges, and services available to, particularly people in our community, but really anywhere that they are hearing this, both on the employee side of things, the veterans themselves, and on the employer issues and how this can be of great benefit to them. So here is that interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have Ryan Burgos, U.S. Air Force and Army veteran of the Iraq War and DAV National Employment Director. Thank you very much for joining us here today.
Thank you for having me, Andrew. I appreciate it.
Absolutely happy to have you on because, among the many important and serious topics we deal with in our area, veterans is one of those things that is often brought up as what are we doing about this? But not necessarily a whole lot of people are actually then doing something about it, except, of course, among other things, for you all there with DAV, and particularly talking about veterans employment, one of those kind of big issues for that employers really need to know about, right?
Yes. So, here at DAV, or Disabled American Veterans, we've been around for over 100 years. Our bread and butter is claims work, assisting veterans and active duty members separating off of active duty and making sure that they have a successful transition. However, in order to have a successful transition, they need meaningful employment opportunities as well. That's where I step in. My team and I here, we host a number of career fairs all over the country. In fact, this year we're going to have up to 109 events throughout the entire year. Which I know it's only July 18th today. However, we've already had over 6,300 job offers this year alone. And that's only stemming from 53 events.
Fantastic. So when it comes to the issues surrounding, particularly what y'all deal with, disabled American veterans, but also just, veterans employment issues overall. A lot of things that are talked about in, say, the recruiting material, often talk about, job training and things like that. But particularly for those that have dealt with the unique things that come from service, and particularly from situations like you may have been involved in, combat and the related stresses and continuing issues that can come from that. What are some of the, special or significant issues that end up affecting this population that, again, can make this something that has to be more dealt with employers?
Sure. So, I mean, one way that we help our employers, or the employers that we work with, to combat that is it's a hiring guide, DAV hiring guide. It's the Veteran Advantage, a guide to hiring veterans with disabilities. You can find that guide on jobs.dav.org. But in that guide, we use real world examples, real companies, real veterans, and we highlight the different tax incentives that work opportunity tax credits that are involved. We explain different interview tactics. We talk about the soft skills that veterans bring to the table whenever they're coming to your organization. So it's an awesome guide for employers to use, and they can get with us and we can talk to their human resources departments. We talk with different employee resource groups just to help them build their veteran talent pool.
So one of the issues you talk about here, I mean, of course, some of the more visible aspects of issues that affect veterans, including things like PTSD, the service-connected issues that you often deal with, or like veterans' homelessness, that again is often brought up as significant issues. One of the ones that you talk about, interestingly enough, is veterans' underemployment. What do y'all mean by that, and what do y'all address when it comes to it?
Sure. So you always hear all over the news the unemployment rate, and right now it is at an all-time low at 2.6% for the month of June. But what a lot of people don't hear about is underemployment. Underemployment means a broad array of different things. One thing that I like to say is the fact that, one, of course, the veteran is not going to be happy at that position. They could be underpaid, undervalued in the sense that they're not putting their full skills to use. So veterans, we always encourage them, hey, you might already have a job, but the best time to find a job is when you already have one. Go and engage with us at our job fairs, whether it be in person or virtually. Put your resume to the test. Brush up on your interview skills. Because when you attend one of our job fairs, that's what sets our career fairs apart. Some of these employers are doing on-the-spot interviews, on-the-spot hiring. I can't tell you the number of success stories I've heard at job fairs where veterans are coming back and saying, wow, thank you for giving me that advice this morning. I'm leaving today's event with a new job. In fact, last year in 2022, I attended a job fair, and we always tell everybody, hey, visit every single table. Don't do yourself that disservice and bypass a table. Well, in 2022, a veteran left that job fair and was telling me, thank you for that advice because I found a job today. I went to that same location this year in 2023. That exact same veteran was at the job fair, but this time he's on the employer side of the table, and now he's the one searching for veterans to hire.
So why should employers consider veteran candidates as top talent? You mentioned some of the unique skills they bring in, but when it comes to the reality of then the hiring process, what's the unique aspects that they bring to the table?
The biggest unique aspect, whenever I hit these different job fairs across the country, employers say, the biggest thing I want is for somebody to show up to work on time. And veterans that are listening are probably laughing because that's one skill set. As easy as it comes, it's ingrained in veterans. They will show up to work on time. And in fact, they're probably going to be 10 minutes early, in fact. But employers across the country, they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to equip their existing staff to have these leadership skills, these time management skills, project management skills. When you hire a veteran, you're getting these skills that are ingrained in them, and it's second nature to them. You're not needing to ask them to go above and beyond because they're bringing everything to the table, giving it their 100% every single time they come to work.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is Ryan Burgos, U.S. Air Force and Army veteran of the Iraq War and DAV National Employment Director. If you want to find out anything more about what we're talking about, the details either from the veteran or from the potential employer side of things, jobs.dav.org. That's jobs.dav.org. So, I mean, there's a lot of issues, again, going on in this whole sphere that we're talking about, but particularly what happens, I mean, you mentioned job fairs that you all host and do these kind of things, but when it comes to connecting veterans with jobs, I mean, would you say it goes beyond that as well?
It does. So at that same website, jobs.dav.org, another big resource we have is our Veterans Job Board. It's free to use. You only need to create a login account to use it. There's over 320,000 nationwide vacancies that's currently on that list. And what's great about that list is the fact that employers know what they're getting. They are attending our career fairs, posting these vacancies because they know what veterans bring to the table, and they want that part of their organization so that their organization can be great.
Then particularly on the employer side of things, I mean, there's, like you mentioned, some incentives and other things like that. I mean, I feel like most big national employers at this point, and certainly government positions, have a consideration towards, are you a disabled veteran? Are you a veteran? Any of those kind of categories and things that apply there. But particularly for employers that are considering hiring and in general hiring, I mean, it's been like you mentioned, with the historically low unemployment, a very competitive job market out out there. So if they're actually wanting to focus on hiring veterans specifically, what are some of the resources or services available to, again, on the employer side of things to help them consider this?
So we have, like I said, that veteran advantage that's out there, but we also have our Patriot Employer Program. Let's say you're already interested in hiring veterans, you're working on it, you're just not quite there yet. Our Patriot Employer Program, we recognize businesses that hire and retain veterans, and also depending on their level of community support, we issue them a free digital badge to go on their website as long as they meet the approval process. If they're the overall winner throughout the year, they get brought to our national convention. They receive an award on stage. They get numerous magazine article blasts. They get social media posts. And I mean, that's the biggest thing for companies nowadays. If you're just not able to get the word out about your company, let us help you. Because at the end of the day, when veterans go to your website and they see the DAV stamp of approval, they'll know, say, hey, I know DAV. That must be an organization that I can trust. And that company is someone that I want to work for because they stand for good values like DAV.
Of course, we've talked a lot about specifically on the veteran employment and on the employer side of things there as well. But when it comes to then specifically DAV overall, for those that are unfamiliar with the organization, again, mention the name of it, they're Disabled American Veterans. But the work that you overall do, what do you want people to know about that?
DAV, Disabled American Veterans, we want everybody to know that we are there to help veterans, service members, their dependents, make that all-important, successful transition off of active duty. Once you've separated, we're still there for employment, but one big piece is our legislative team. If it wasn't for our legislative team fighting every single day on Capitol Hill for additional veterans benefits, we wouldn't be where we are today. So if you're a veteran looking to get involved in your local community, it all starts there when it comes to law changes. So please get involved with your local chapters and departments. 10 chapter meetings, and let's get these law changes started so that way we have something to fight for next year.
So finally, on the whole issue of veteran unemployment, underemployment, and employment issues in general, if anyone is thinking about, okay, this sounds like a big issue and either affects me, someone I know, or just something I'm concerned about directly, what overall would you want them to know about both the issue itself and particularly the efforts that you all do towards solving it or addressing it in any case?
Sure. So, I mean, you always hear all over the news and things, it's just the statistics about veteran unemployment, sometimes underemployment. But if you're trying to encourage someone to attend a job fair or anything like that, please visit jobs.dav.org because, yes, we'll help you with employment. We can help you with claims, volunteer initiatives. We'll run the gamut. We like and pride ourselves in that we are, in fact, a one-stop shop for anything veteran-related and we can assist with.
All right. Again, guest right now has been Ryan Burgos, U.S. Army and Air Force veteran of the Iraq War and DAV National Employment Director. Again, any of the details that we've talked about that we have been discussing here at jobs.dav.org. That's jobs.dav.org. So, Ryan, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us about this, the details, the information that you all bring forth, and what people need to know about when it comes to veteran employment here today.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. It's been a pleasure.
So again, definitely an issue that affects us and goes on here. And again, with Veterans Hire a Veteran Day, rather, that is coming up next Tuesday, an important one to consider, particularly with the resources that are available. So with that, we'll go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will go ahead and open up those phone lines as we would usually do at this point during the program, and they may have just filled up. Y'all are anticipating stuff today, so we'll get into it as much as we can. Taking that next break, stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this here on News Radio 690 KTSM. That number again, pull up at the moment, but just keep the number handy, 915-544-58765 for KTSM. Back in a bit with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. Mazer Security Alarms, locally based and operated and ready to take on all jobs. No job too big or too small to increase your home and or business security. Anything that you have something important in that you want to keep safe and secure, give Mazer Security Alarms a call at 915-590-0033. That's 915-590-0033. You're going to be doing some work for us around here. So very excited to see the new and improved things we'll be having around our offices. But we want to have them for, again, your own home business or whatever have you that you want to keep secure. Again, that number, 915-590-0033.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso police responding to an accident in the East Valley, westbound Montwood Drive at Saw Kleinfeld. I-10 eastbound slow, Vinton down to Red, 1 lane, and it's 22-minute delays. Eastbound Montana, 5-minute delays out to Yarborough. Paisano Drive, Washington Avenue down to Campbell, it's a 5-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself and save big at Blindster.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the Borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom on 3800 Maddox in El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Get $2 off admission by going to azgunradio.com. That's azgunradio.com.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Wendy's BOGO $1 deal is back at participating Wendy's. Buy a Dave single, spicy chicken sandwich, 10-piece nugs, or medium frosty, and get another for $1. Double your deliciousness. Hurry, this BOGO deal won't last.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And again, thanks to our guests from the previous segment. Again, working on some more of those more reasonable interviews. Not that I think I'm truly going to be able to stop myself from doing these huge longitudinal and not quite hours long interview, because we also do that on other programming. But for those kind of things, at least for our air purposes, we'll be trimming them down, or at the very least presenting the full thing online for when those happen. So that's my entirely intending to follow through, and we'll see how I do with it pledge to y'all. But of course, a lot of things, a lot of conversations going on. We do have those phone lines open, if full up at the moment right now. Again, 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. We do have Raul in the Northeast line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. The other day, you had a call from climate change denier, Mencio Marco. Now, if I'm wrong about this, I apologize. And perhaps you'll remember Marco saying that he wasn't a college graduate, and that he was glad about that because universities indoctrinate and brainwash students' minds with wokeism. Now, do you remember he saying something like that?
Definitely the last part, and being opposed to that concept. I don't remember if it was a reflection on his personal, actual college experience or not.
But did he say that he did or did not graduate from college?
That we'll have to ask him. That part I did not clock as part of the parts of the
Well, I believe
conversation.
he said he didn't. Okay. Now I went to college for 8 years and wasn't CRT brainwashed by my science, business, and education professors. Now, however, I was by some of my Jesuit high school priests and professors, some of whom were proponents of liberation theology. Now, did your journalism professors CRT radicalize you, Andrew?
I mean, most of my college experience was focused on learning how to evaluate things, synthesize information. I mean, I did go to a liberal arts college, which I think has served me pretty well in being able to handle information and make connections between it in ways that may or may not be obvious. But I mean, the short answer, no, because that was not my particular field of study.
Oh, okay. Well, where did you go to college? Where did you graduate from?
Graduated from Knox College, Galesburg, Illinois. Long story short, it was a place that my great-grandfather had graduated from 100 years ago, so not exactly a legacy because they don't think about it that way, but they gave me pretty good scholarship, so I ended up going there.
Interesting. Well, Menzo Mentiroso Marco sounds like one of those anti-university and professors and experts, folks who believe that their opinions and their research debunk the work of the academic scientific community. And now some of these Republicans are warring against public schools and public school teachers. The right-wing culture warriors and propagandists are claiming that public school teachers are grooming kids, normalizing gays, and enabling boys wanting to be girls and girls wanting to be boys. Now this is all nuttery. It's just a distraction for what's happening to their wannabe tyrant Trump, who just announced to the world that he got a target letter from the Department of Justice, which means he's going to be indicted again by the commies and Marxists working for Biden and the deep state, he says. Now, I'll give credence to the work of the National Academy of Science. Let's talk about them. See, so one thing that you learned in college is how to find credible sources, right, Andrew?
I mean, yes, there were some things that I learned about there about how to investigate. Again, one of the parts of a liberal arts education, besides the names, which I'm sure someone will have something to say about. But the point is to be able to, again, understand and conceptualize things. Because, I mean, as much as there is, how to deal with systems, how to manage stuff like this, though, it wasn't exactly taught how to lead a radio show. I ended up doing that kind of as an independent study thing back in college, but that's a separate issue. But the idea and the ways to, again, synthesize and extrapolate information, make connections where they aren't obvious is one of the more useful and valuable skills I ended up getting out of the whole experience here. And I'm not surprised that you're potentially excited about what's going to potentially happen to the former president. I'll believe it when I see it kind of situation if there is an indictment, particularly for any of the January 6th related things. But on the local aspect of that here, I will say that, again, we've been having a lot of conversations this past week, and I said at the top of the show, and I'll reiterate it now, that if you want to talk about some of the local implications, things going on or affectable from our local area with these big issues that we have been very much delving into, frankly, the last couple of weeks, that is what we are here for. If you're wanting to rehash some of the debates that have been happening at other programs here, that's what we're not going to end up doing here today. But tell you what, in either case, we got to take that next break right now because we got to hit that break for the top of the hour. So I appreciate the point in the call, and just the local aspects can be extrapolated from that. But in the meantime, got to take that break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more calls, more comments, more of everything we do at this point during the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876-544 KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
El Paso police responding to an accident in the East Valley, westbound Montwood Drive at Saul Kleinfeld. I-10 eastbound slow, Vinton down to Red, 1 lane, and it's 22-minute delays. Eastbound Montana, 5-minute delays out to Yarborough. Paisano Drive, Washington Avenue down to Campbell, it's a 5-minute delay. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Traffic's bad enough without Mother Nature adding to your headache. Traffic and
News
weather
on
all
the
day.
hour and
Stay
a half.
informed with
Traffic
El
and weather
Paso's
all
News
day.
Radio. News Radio 690. It's KTSM.
Why do you change your car's air
Paso.
filter? Because when it's
Radio
clogged,
station.
it doesn't work. The same is true of your nose, the body's air filter. It's great at trapping allergens, dust, and viruses, but unless you clean it regularly, they can stay trapped, making you miserable. I'm Martin Hogue, inventor of Navage, the world's only nose cleaner with powered suction. Navage pulls saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out the other nostril, helping to flush out allergens, mucus, and germs. Here's a testimonial from a verified purchaser and a big Navage fan. Quote, I've been suffering for 30 years with chronic sinus infections and allergies. I stumbled across Navage. The suction is amazing. It cleared my sinus cavities better than anything I've tried before. Unquote. Navage has over 120,000 reviews with a 4.6-star average written by people who use Navage to breathe better, snore less, and feel healthier. Wash your body's air filter with Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The record-long heat wave shows no signs of letting up in the U.S. Over 2,000 heat records have been broken across the southern U.S. from California to Florida since the first heat advisories were posted in early June. Forecasters warn the heat dome is expanding in Texas and in the Southwest, and triple digits could drag well into next week and beyond. Democratic presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is defending controversial comments he made, suggesting Chinese and Jewish people are less susceptible to COVID-19. During a House hearing on government censorship online, Kennedy argued he's being smeared through misrepresentations and distortions about what he said. President Biden is bringing his Bidenomics tour to Philadelphia.
A lot of my friends in organized labor know when I think climate, I think jobs. I think union jobs.
The president today toured the Philly shipyard, where union workers are building a ship that will be used to install and maintain offshore wind turbines. Plaintiffs in a civil lawsuit related to the deadly 2018 Parkland school shooting in Florida plan to use live ammunition in a reenactment. The lawsuit is against former school resource officer Scott Peterson, who was recently found not guilty on child neglect charges in a criminal trial. The Dow Jones Industrial Average continues to enjoy a winning streak. More from Natalie Migliori.
The Dow closed higher for a ninth consecutive day, its longest winning streak since 2017. Overall, Wall Street closed mixed as corporate earnings seasons continues. At the closing bell, the Dow Jones Industrial Average gained 163 points. The S&P 500 fell 30 points, and the NASDAQ dropped 294 points. I'm Natalie Migliori.
NFL owners have unanimously approved the $6 billion sale of the Washington Commanders. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The investigation into the alleged Gilgo Beach serial killer is heading to Atlantic City. Lisa G. reports.
Police say murder suspect 59-year-old Rex Heuermann of Long Island might have ties to the area, and they're interviewing jailed sex workers who might have come in contact with him. The investigation now covers New York, New Jersey, South Carolina, and Las Vegas. Heuermann owns a timeshare in Las Vegas and property in South Carolina, where they found and towed his truck back to New York on Wednesday. Meantime, Heuermann's wife of over 2 decades filed for divorce on Wednesday.
The Federal Reserve has launched its own instant money transfer service. FedNow allows individuals and businesses to send and receive payments within seconds, and it will be available 24/7. The service is being rolled out at 35 participating banks, including J.P. Morgan and Wells Fargo. Fed Chair Jerome Powell says it'll help make everyday payments over the coming years faster and more convenient. The prosecution has wrapped up closing arguments in the double murder trial of rapper Jamel Melly Demons.
Prosecutor Christine Bradley walked the jury through all the evidence, including phone records and ballistics, but she acknowledged one problem with her case against YNW Melly.
There's no murder weapon, right? The question that you have to answer, based on all of this evidence, is that Jamel Demons was sitting in the back seat of that Jeep, and he was the one that fired the fatal shots that killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams.
The defense has maintained that the deaths were a result of a drive-by shooting. If the jury finds Demons guilty, he could be sentenced to death or life in prison. Karen Curtis, Miami.
The lights will stay lit on Broadway. The union representing Broadway stagehands reached a tentative contract agreement with the Broadway League and Disney Theatrical Productions Thursday morning. The agreement avoided a third strike in the entertainment world, with Hollywood actors and writers already picketing. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bank. That's bank. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
MVP's bonus days are back at Lowe's. Right now, save $60 when you buy a DeWalt impact driver or drill for just $99 each. Lowe's knows pros. Valid through 8/2.
It's the Marketer's Report
Today, Capital One's Chief Brand Officer, Mark Mentry, weighs in on building loyalty with customers.
Capital One has really worked to create amazing access moments for our customers. We will do sound check parties that only Capital One cardholders can get access to, and we can't pull that off without iHeart.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
The Rod Ryan Show. It's the Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the morning. All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival, yeah!
All of the best free curated playlists.
The best bands.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
The stuff they don't want you to know.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
Okay, let's settle down. Since today is career day, stand up and tell the class what you want to be when you grow up.
I want to be a pilot, soccer player, fireman, a judge.
Kids dream big. As a parent, you can protect those dreams by keeping your kids healthy well into adulthood. If your son or daughter is 11 or 12 years old, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help protect them from 6 types of HPV cancers later in life. To learn more, visit cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of people tuning in, chiming in, adding their 2 cents over on those. But of course, those phone lines available, well, open if full up at the moment. And again, when one call ends, another big line becomes available, et cetera, et cetera. I'll just keep that in mind, because about the only thing that seems to delineate those that get through and those that don't, at the very least, our more frequent callers, is tenacity. Let's just put it that way, because, yeah, we'd have to try to call them back. Yeah, we need more phone lines, but yeah, I could also need a lot of things in life here. So we're doing the best we can with what we got, which is pretty good, I got to admit, or at least I think. So anyway, and those, of course, dropping those likes and reacts, including others. Buddy Baez, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, Amber Banda, Robbie Flores, RJ Promotes, and Monica Cervantes. And a lot of conversation going on over there, including tax and issues with different parts. Also, RJ asking a substantive question. What happened to the channel 13.4, the city channel? Was hoping to see Cassandra get grilled on the gas card, referring to there the starting here in about 12 minutes, just under, let's call it about 10 minutes and change to be safe, of the next session of the City Ethics Commission hearing. That I do believe it goes, if the 13 points or whatever the digital channel you're talking about here is. I will be honest, I don't get good reception at my new place. We're a little bit in the shadow of the mountain in a couple of places, so from the actual antennas and such. But also, I'll be honest, I don't really watch TV that much because I'm always online. That's the way I do things. Anyway, point is that there is the online way to do it. I do believe that the city has the YouTube page, in which I wasn't clear if they were being live streamed yesterday or if the recording was put up, but it was a bit of a marathon session yesterday, is what my understanding was. So yeah, if you go to City of El Paso, Texas, their YouTube channel, which the URL is, okay, it's not giving me the nice URL in the way I'm looking at it right now, but it should be youtube.com/ at City of El Paso TX. So you can find it that way. And I mean, yeah, everyone says they don't watch too much TV. I mean, we use the television, just we're not watching broadcast these days, which I guess is a sign of the times. Not even like too much of the streaming services, though we go through binges at various points. In any case, we also watch those videos through there. So yeah, it looks like the whole, if I'm not mistaken, progression of the video from yesterday is up there. Let me see if I can actually, yeah, okay, it's not handy that way, but yeah, the entire YouTube video. So it is the whole 6 hours and 30 minutes that was available from that one. I think it includes some of the break time, of course, and stuff like that. So it should be available, and it does seem that this was Okay, I'm not quite sure if this one was live streamed or not, but you should be able to see it that way. So yeah, City of El Paso, Texas, over on YouTube, should be able to see it. But other conversations going on, including about what's going on in schools and also employers. Marky Mandingo saying, my potential employer had 3 pages of questions. Interesting way. The last job application I can recall doing did have a lot of like, oh, what's the way they put it? It's that kind of standard form that has the certain duties as ways are described on there. And are you have never done this? You've been trained but haven't done this. Have done it regularly, have done it independently, or considered an expert in it. So yeah, that's the last one I remember really filling out along those lines. Anyway, a lot of other commentary and a lot of other things going on, including James Ratcliffe expressing his dislike for anyone who, quote, intends to deceive using manipulative tactics like gaslighting or projection or doublethink, which is why I don't like the legal profession. Maybe not a totally generous view of them there, but let's just say that it's very formulaic and courtroom dramas are interesting, if not always reality. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now, because if you want to get on there and add your 2 cents that way, and RJ also rethinking maybe watching the progression of it, we'll see if we can pull some of the highlights or at least audio from it for, well, maybe not next show because Friday's coming, but for future ones, if there are significant moments. Anyway, go back to those phone lines now. Again, that number 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Ben on the east side online with us here right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Andrew, instead of talking about what we can't do about climate change, I thought it would be kind of good to talk about to Raul and Eric about things they actually can do to save the planet.
Yeah, okay.
Let's start off by doing things that we could have done today. Okay? Did you use your ice maker?
Actually, don't. Ours is broken, so no.
It uses a lot of energy to make ice.
Mm-hmm.
Did they, let's see, did they roll down the windows of the car when they were driving around today instead of using the AC?
Mm-hmm.
Did they set their air conditioner in your home at their home to 80 or above and in their businesses? Did you use cold water for your laundry? Did you hang your clothes out instead of using a dryer? Did you walk or ride a bicycle to work, or take a bus or carpool with others today instead of using your car by yourself? These are, and if you went to the grocery store today, did you use reusable grocery bags? These all come from the World Economic Forum and UN. These are suggestions from them and everything. Let's go on. Do either of you have an electric car? Have you bought an electric car yet? Do you have solar panels and windows at your home and business?
Mm-hmm.
Have you stopped eating meat and cheese and dairy products? You know, we've got a lot of cow parts out there. Have you reduced your overall consumption of goods? Electronics, clothes, and plastics, and other items you buy cause carbon emissions at each point of production. To protect the environment, please buy fewer things, shop secondhand, and repair, don't replace. Have you turned off all your lights today that you're not using in your house or your business? Have you switched all of your light bulbs in your house and business to LED bulbs? Airplanes, okay. Did you go on a vacation this year?
Mm-hmm.
If you did, shame on you. Airplanes burn large amounts of fuels, producing a lot of greenhouse gases. When you can just go ahead and meet with others virtually, or skip that long trip vacation altogether. All these things you could do, and I bet you $1 to a donut. They haven't done any of those things.
And I would say that it's not necessarily, I mean, I am sure there is someone out there that uses that kind of a checklist for their lives. And of course, online, you can find plenty of people that are, I mean, when you get into spaces like that, trying to one up each other, like, well, no, I don't eat anything that casts a shadow. I'm vegan level 5 or just stuff like that. And whether or not they're actually doing it in their real lives is definitely another question. But I actually have to say that as much as, I mean, you're trying to point out their foibles, that has been one of the problems with not even just the concept, but the messaging that leads to some of the consternation we've had on this program being expressed about the ideas and particularly the solutions, the conversations around it, as much as they have continuously said, Eric, specifically yesterday, well, we have to identify the problem first. But I don't even necessarily think that people are that opposed to the idea of it if it weren't for the fact of what you come down on that. And really, the aspect that is the most problematic is that it's all like on the individual. Like, well, what are you doing? Meanwhile, we got situations like the Great Garbage Patch in the Pacific that is the sides of either France or Texas. I think it's actually Texas. That's the last time I asked that. That's what I looked up, or was answered by the community out there. And that is, I mean, sure, the whole plastic straws, that one video of it being pulled out of the nose of a turtle, that is going to haunt my dreams for a foreseeable future. And as far as for a lot of people, and led to that whole pushback and outcry. Sure, that is impacting, but that garbage patch, it's not all a bunch of single-use straws that people were so carelessly discarding. It's primarily commercial levels of plastic and trash. Things are either industrial waste or nets, like plastic netting that were just discarded because, oh, well, it got caught up and we just cut it out the line there. So the individual focus that comes along on this, and I think the part that people end up viscerally reacting to the most, along the lines of, you mean I gotta eat bugs, I can't eat meat, that my stove is evil, all those kind of things, whether it's actually that way or not, ends up coming from this entirely individual aspect. And I think there is a somewhat of a bit of this being, well, let's call it propaganda. Not that you're perpetuating it, but the way it's put out on this solely individualistic focus of what are you doing? And if you're not doing everything, you're a bad person, is a way of shirking off responsibility of like the major polluters out of this. Because if it's, well, it's not our fault that we made these things that have these awful byproducts or issues with it. It's your fault for using it. So shame on you, individual, and also don't regulate us at all kind of thing. So that's part of the problem, part of the visceral reaction.
I'm just saying that, golly,
Sure.
I don't believe in climate change, so I'm not doing all these things. But if they do, if they really, bring this to their heart, they really believe in this, they need to change their ways and show others how to change their way. And speaking of ecological disasters, have you heard about the beaches in the Northeast and Great Lakes?
You got to be more specific of which part of it.
All the beaches in the Northeast and the Great Lakes are ecological disasters, according to the U.S. environmental people. And they said that because of waste products left from people on the beaches.
Oh, yeah, that kind of thing. And also there's been one about Texas beaches, how none of the ones studied, and they took major samples from most of the beaches on, the Gulf coastline of Texas, were not contaminated by fecal matter. So none of them did not have some reference of, well, human elimination on it here. So there's problems and certainly things and ways we can affect stuff. But I guess that's really the problem I see with, again, a lot of the response that happens to this is about it. Well, it's your problem, your personal problem, as opposed to a programmatic approach. Because, I mean, sure, if it's coming down as a, hey, you ruined these beaches, why are you such an awful person? As opposed to a, hey, what can we do and what could be solutions? And again, the solutions focus is the kind of paradigm I used to take on these and related issues, is what can be done to fix this. That is not about saying screw the individual, because I don't see that flying. And anyone saying that, well, it's just what has to be done, is not looking at reality when it comes to solutions in my mind.
Exactly, and you used the word fecal. I used word waste because I thought that would be a little bit better instead of the word fecal.
Yeah,
that's kind of gross. I mean, really,
it is, and
it brings to mind all sorts of things. That if I'm walking on the beach, do I really want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I've visited oceans previously. I've dipped toes in the Atlantic, Pacific, Indian Ocean, those kind of things. But I let's just say, given the current day and age, I do have some questions about any future visits to beaches myself here. And I thought that's what you're talking about when it comes to waste. But let's just say people then think about like, oh, there's too much, garbage bags, chips or 6-pack rings. which we need to have that same kind of campaign on cutting those up.
That wasn't what the environmental people were
Nope.
talking about. They were talking about fecal products.
They were indeed, which is, I think, an important clarification to make, which is why I did that. So appreciate the point in the call on the focus on it.
I would just like to know if Eric and Raul and everybody out there that believe in climate change, have they done these things? Have you put insulation in your roof? And again, have you painted your house with with the environmentally friendly paints? Something that that'll save energy and everything. And if you guys haven't got solar panels after all you've talked about, Eric, on Proposition K and everything, shame on you. Okay. Anyway, I thought it would be very interesting to ask these people about that.
Fair enough here.
You stay well, stay safe. God bless you. And let's go, Brandon.
Well, appreciate the point on the call. You have a good one there as well. Let me say a part of that, sir, before we take that next break, a part of that conversation there reminded me of, and I had actually looked into it, the story that goes around as a meme, but anytime you see a meme, it's worth looking further into. Steve Commissar, if anyone's heard this, stop me, about how he, as many other things, is a noted con man. It was actually cited in the book Organic Housekeeping, in which the non-toxic adventure shows you how to improve your health and that of your family while you save time, money, and perhaps your sanity. It was noted that, quoting directly from that quote, a while back, the brilliant scam artist Steve Commissar cleverly exploited the efficiency of line drying laundry by advertising a, quote, solar-powered clothes dryer for only $49.95. When the suckers, or customers, opened their eagerly awaited packages and discovered the scientifically proven space-age clothes dryer, which was a piece of clothesline. So that's another aspect of this here, that just saying, oh yeah, no, it sounds good, we should do it, without looking at impacts and solutions. Part of it is, well, I'm not going to call it that one exactly greenwashing, but definitely taking advantage of it. Let's take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, more calls, more comments, more of everything we do on the line, including some of the ones we've been popping up that we'll talk about. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Those phone lines, okay, they just filled up again, but the number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Just one collision right now. El Paso police responding to an accident westbound Montwood at South Kleinfeld. Slow traffic continues on the I-10 eastbound. It's down to one lane travel there. From Vinton to Red, it's a 26-minute delay. Slow traffic eastbound Montana from McRae out to Zaragoza. 10-minute delays there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by STEM.
Humans can do a lot of amazing things. Fighting bugs? Ew, a bug, get it, isn't one of them. STEM is powered by active ingredients found in plants to fight off bugs safely and effectively when used as directed. STEM, rooted in nature, optimized by science.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom on 3800 Maddox in El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Get $2 off admission by going to azgunradio.com. That's azgunradio.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-989-8906 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-989-8906. That's 800-989-8906. What do you have to lose? Call 800-989-8906. Again, 800-989-8906.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so. A lot of ways to interact with the show, particularly at this point during the program, in which, okay, phone lines are still full up, but keep that number handy, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And a lot of conversations also going on, of course, in our comment sections, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, including Michael Armstead taking some issue with the previous caller, saying, my family has a home 50 yards from Lake Michigan. Trust me, those beaches are beautiful. And I have no reason to disbelieve you here, but that's saying that not all segments are necessarily taken up or just preserved or kept up that well. Though also, I know that there's a few specific places called like Glass Beach, like in California, other places. Got some family up in the Great Lakes area myself here. And what was used to be pollution in its own right, there used to be a glass factory, among other things that I'm aware of, that would just say, well, no one cares about this little stretch of beach, and so they would just dump all of their broken and unused things. And in fact, it's now a hobby finding sea glass, or I guess, quote, sea glass. It would actually be lake glass, but that doesn't sound as good, from the Great Lakes areas. And there's even like hunting guides, and people make jewelry out of it now. So it was very much wasteful. And yeah, thinking about walking along a beach that has a bunch of broken glass on it doesn't sound like a great idea until it's been, hundreds of years in some cases, or parts of hundreds of years, that has now been processed and turned into these smoother things. That's still glass. So if you broke it again, it would still be jagged and not fun to walk on in any case. But those kind of situations exist. So places can be beautiful even if they weren't necessarily intended to be kept up that way. So anyway, other commentary coming in, such as Monica Cervantes saying that actually some of these activities previous caller was talking about could be dangerous in this heat wave, though, about like having windows open. Though, yeah, I bet you if you go out right now, maybe not on I-10, though probably on I-10 as well, you're probably going to find someone with like windows down blasting around here, because I guess I do swear some people are just built different around about this area. So let's get back to those phone lines now. We got on the line with us right now. We do have Frankie and Missy on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
This is absolute madness. I can't describe it any other way than just absolute madness. There's something in the water, something in the air, something in the humidity. But I talked about this yesterday. This business with that governor of yours, Abbott Les Costello,
okay,
and did these buoy things and the razor wire.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Now, it's a horrible situation. I hate repeating myself like that. It's a horrible situation with this immigration, illegal stuff, whatever you want to call it. But these poor folks, they're trying to find somehow a better way, right? But to brutalize them in that, it just go. And I'm not a religious person. There's no God, no Jesus, Holy Ghost stuff. But I don't know what it is with these Texas Christians out there that allow this thing, and then you go off on a Sunday school and pray to God for forgiveness, and they do this thing to their fellow human. I don't think Jesus would appreciate that. What do you think of that?
I mean, there's not a whole lot. I'm not pretending to be a biblical expert. No, am I trying to turn this into another Bible quote off, as has sometimes happened on here? But let's just say that the idea of treating foreigners well and those kind of things is a concept that you're addressing there. But there's also the idea of, to give one specific quote, render that unto Caesar, which is Caesar's, and that unto God, which is God's. And that saying that ignoring the laws of man, or the realities of it in any case, is not necessarily the end all be all and the ultimate answer to everything. So, I mean, to say that people should be treated humanely, I do not feel should be a controversial subject here. But the way in which we apply that and the way we use that, that is, of course, the details where the devil lies. So if we are saying that, hey, again, the way the state of Texas is focusing on this in the area denial, trying to prevent access, as opposed to, I mean, the way internationally it's being dealt with the programs that the federal government is putting forth, the CBP1 app, the appointments, the requirement of that way, which arguably in our area is having an effect. Though, again, if you go and check over on the El Paso, Texas.gov/migrant-crisis, as I often do when looking at what is our current situation and what are some of the impacts we are seeing in our area. It is by no means ceased in our area. It's certainly at a lower level than it has been, particularly at the high water marks that we have seen when these issues about, say, particularly Title 42 are coming to a head. It's definitely a very different paradigm of the way the action is being taken, particularly under this administration, and is juxtaposed from the previous one. But even the previous administration, as much as, yes, the wall was the talk and was the campaign line, of which you could argue about the efficacy of the concept versus the actual implementation, it did not go about it in this way. Now, did it? Because that was one of the structural issues with the concept of the wall, is that people were, at that point, if they were at the wall, they were on U.S. territory, meaning that the asylum laws and things that the U.S. has agreed upon, as much as there were other things being done, questions about implementation at the ports of entry and other programs put into it, maybe not as effective as would have been put forth. But let's just put it this way, that if punitive is the primary focus of essentially law enforcement in this case, that is not an equal-handed application, I would have to say. There's a whole lot that is done. I mean, law enforcement in general is a reactive type of thing, as much as we like to think of crime prevention. It's mostly about dealing with crimes once they've happened. So if this is trying to be an active prevention thing that is both outside some of the usual scope that is put forward with it, but also, if again, punitive or like the phrases that were being used in the whistleblower complaint about pushing them back into the water, I would say that's not inconsistent without even keeping in the ideals of law enforcement, but within the values that we hold as a country.
Well, I hear everything you said, right? But my particular point, there's a lot of moving parts in here, right? Sure. And these moving parts are conditioned or as an example of human intervention that are not working right. And it can be fixed. Now, and I mentioned this to you guys and everybody out there, so it's easy to fix, piece of cake. It just requires this dedication, mindset, you want to call it like that. But right now, the way this is going is not a good look. Optics-wise,
no,
this
I'll agree
is
with you there.
horrible. And again, I mean, these are fellow human beings. I mean, for whatever reason, they got to get away from where they are, and then to brutalize them on top of everything else, this is insane. This is not humanity. That's my point.
I mean, there's supposedly an investigation going on to it by the Office of the Inspector General for Texas DPS, the department involved with it at this point. We'll see what, if anything, comes out of that, or if it gets publicly released in any case. But I do fully expect that efforts in some line in this, again, same paradigm of denial as opposed to response, of which, I mean, sure, there has been debate about it, about what is effective or what effectiveness even looks like. And certainly the governor, Greg Abbott, given that he has not even just put his current instructions on this, but essentially his political life on it as well. It's something that he has both campaigned on and continued to focus on with the number of billions of dollars that have been spent from Texas budgets on these specific efforts. I don't expect it to cease anytime soon, even if in this particular instance, this particular issues, we're talking about, the Del Rio, Eagle Pass areas, even if there may be some questions about how the specific implementation works in the near to far future.
Well, I hear you. But all I'm going to tell you, me, Messiah Frankie, you hire me, I'll fix this within the space of a month. Guaranteed. You just need to go with my thought process. It'll be a piece of cake. Everybody is kumbaya. That's what I'm saying.
All right. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Okay, Andrew, you take care. Bye, Amber.
And with that, we'll go and take that next break here as well. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, squeezing in what we can before the end of the show. Of course, number to call is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. El Paso police have released new information on the deadly pedestrian crash killed a woman in her mid-20s in central El Paso last night. It happened in the 1600 block of West Paisano at about 9 o'clock last night. According to police documents, 2 pedestrians ran across the road, crossing in front of eastbound traffic. According to police, a woman was hit and killed. The second person kept running. Some students in the Las Cruces Public School District started their first day of school today. Meantime, in El Paso, students still have about a week of summer vacation left. For students in the Isleta and Socorro school districts, students return on Monday, July 31st. Students in the El Paso school district return on August 7th. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Heads up for an accident eastbound Montana before McRae at Limerick. Slow traffic on the I-10 eastbound. Vinton down to Red, 17-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at Piedras, a stalled vehicle is blocking the left shoulder. And on Montana eastbound from McRae to Zaragoza, traffic slow, a 10-minute delay there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. Weather warned for heat for your Friday. Also, heat advisory in effect for your Friday. High around 106 for tomorrow. 10% chance of an isolated storm. Not as hot for the weekend. That's the good news. Partly cloudy, breezy on your Saturday. 10% chance of a storm. High around 101. Partly cloudy skies for your Sunday with a high around 102. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples has great prices on everything you need for back to school. Now save up to 60% on select notebooks, markers, and more. At Staples, school savings are always in session. Offer ends July 29th. Prices may vary in store and online. School on, save on at Staples.
If you're hiring, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other businesses who've used ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter can help you find the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Looking for a better oil change experience? You need Lube Express. You can get your oil changed in just 15 minutes while you wait in your car. No wasting time. Enjoy locally owned, honest professional services. Drive up, drive in, drive out. Lube Express. That was fast.
Like to shop local? Go to ComparionInsurance.com. Their agents are local insurance experts finding you the right insurance at the right price from national carriers. Comparion Insurance Agency. Local agents. Expert advice.
This report is sponsored by ComparionInsurance.com.
There won't be much substance on your news feed until you add us. Just like us or click on the link at kcsmradio.com.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know. Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, because if you can't get through on the line, which, again, is full up at the moment, but that number, 915-544-5876, you can get your comments on there, including a lot of conversation about calls and the issues here, like such as Ed Clora saying, let Frankie, who's without sin, cast the first stone here. And, I mean, okay, conversation going on that way. And other things, but also, I mean, it's not all, I mean, I've called the Thunderdome comments more often than not, but it doesn't always have to be such a beat-down drag-out, like, Michael Armstead saying, my sister is the queen of sea glass collecting and art from it, and James Radcliffe asking if she posts her work online. So we can have other things happening on in there, even if some things do get damn serious, among other things. So there's a lot of conversation about laws, implementation of it, and things like that. But let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, getting to what we can before the end of the show. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show.
Sure thing. What's on your mind?
Yes, regarding this heat wave that we're having, wanted to ask you, are the Sun Metro bus terminals considered cooling stations?
To my knowledge, no. Or at the very least, I believe all the cooling centers that they have set up are all indoors, not any kind of like hybrid indoor-outdoor. At the very least, have a strong indoor component. There may be cooling measures in place at the Sun Metro terminals, but I don't believe they count as that. If anything, they're counting the public libraries as that part of it.
Just wondering, because like the downtown center and the one over on close to our neck of the woods, which would be Glory Road, they do have air conditioned waiting areas.
That's true, and I know our news partners at KFOX 14 they've done some look at that and basically seeing how people are taking that. So yeah, where there are the indoor portions, it has including the link just posted up there. You have cooling centers are open and available, but that people have been congregating at where there are the indoor waiting areas, kind of like the Glory Road Transfer Center, like you mentioned.
Yeah, I would be worried. I would be worried about waiting there because, I would be afraid of getting run off by these security guards who would be misinformed. Not getting the daily memo.
Yeah, I would say, as much as we're talking about other situations involving orders and doing it, that anyone saying no, you can't wait here, you have to go and wait out in the sun based on let's just say, have a little compassion, because it's definitely hot enough out there that anyone looking for a bit of refuge is not something I'm going to take particular issue with.
Yes, true. But then again, I admire that. I give a lot of respect to security guards that and the job they have to do. But then again, some of these guys that I've seen, hired by these companies, they ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. But anyhow,
I'll agree with you there.
Yes, but anyhow, concerning what Frankie was saying,
sure.
I don't see the federal government doing a whole hell of a lot other than administrative work, to solve this border crisis. Yes, it's tapered down quite a bit. The asylum process has been streamlined, but when you have people that are coming across these vast open waters, they're themselves risking their lives by doing that. Maybe this barrier is can serve as a prevention, actually keeping them from going and actually saving their lives from drowning.
Potentially. I mean, again, the idea of being a don't come here, it's a question of is denial possible? Because we're talking about, in certain areas, the reason that we have certain barriers that have existed even before some of these modern and current or just previous presidential administration questions came up, there were physical barriers that were present in El Paso, right? No one's completely unfamiliar with that, even if they got some serious upgrades during both the, Obama and then during the Trump administrations, but they were, of course, not everywhere. They don't go down, say, all the way to Tornillo or anywhere past the Texas state line with New Mexico, those kind of things along the actual border with Mexico, that is. So there was an area purpose of it here, and that was mostly a control factor. And so the guideline behind it, I mean, even these buoys that we're talking about there that can be again seen in the primarily Eagle Pass, Del Rio. I think some other parts like McAllen area I think has been at least considered for it, if not actually implemented there yet. It's about the high traffic areas, right? So it's not meant to be an absolute no one can cross, as obviously has not even in the areas where this has been deployed been workable or been the case, but I guess the way I would think about it is it's a way to stem, mitigate, or deal with, maybe not exactly administratively, but in a certain way, because if you're saying that, okay, not everyone in mass or by demonstrating such can do anything in these particular areas, what you're doing without it being an absolute, like if you're not going to drop a dome, like under the dome style that prevents anything and everything from crossing, there is going to be a level that comes across, right? So there's still going to have to be a response. And I guess the paradigm that comes along from, again, the federal government is about denial in certain areas to stem, stymie, and more control flow, as opposed to a complete choking off of it, which again is not realistic, but at least more partially the goal that seems to be coming from the state level.
True. Now, one of the ways, and I've said before, Mexico has to do more on their part, to control the flow and not just give them a hall pass to come to our country. And I'm sure Frankie's idea of solving this is open the borders, let everybody come in unfettered. Why not? It's that's the left solution to everything.
And we've seen that hasn't been particularly a good, I mean, frankly, any way of the extremes on this has not been proven either feasible, workable, or reasonable in terms of how it actually ends up. Like, a lot of ideas sound great on paper, right? The idea of, okay, we'll just stop all of it. But that's one of the reasons that I say, okay, but how is your plan going to work? Because if you're just saying a goal, great, I have some great goals. I plan to be a millionaire someday. You're going to invest in me already without looking at my plan? No, that's not how this works. And I take the same type of view when it comes to policy, that if you're just saying, no, we'll just do this and it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry, it'll be fine. That's when I'm the most damn suspicious, because you're not telling me how your plan will work, how you'll deal with if something goes wrong. Because also, if a plan is predicated on the idea that, yep, and this will work perfectly and there will be no issues. Oh my, yeah, how often has that actually worked out in reality? I'm going to posit very little, if at all. So, no, that's when we talk about policy, because if we're not focused on that aspect of it, we're dealing with more pie in the sky and aspirations than reality.
True. And policy is being dictated by these left-wing immigration rights groups, which, like I said, everybody's entitled to their civil rights. Yes, but there are limitations as to how much a country can handle. And look at our economy right now. Case in point, our dollar is extremely volatile right now. It's losing ground to the Mexican peso.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing some. There was an argument also about making market corrections after they were at such a extreme different level than it has been. But I will say that expecting it to just be, we'll just do whatever and it'll be fine here. It kind of smacks the same way of let's just decriminalize all drugs and we'll expect it. We can just deal with the consequences from that. Capacity becomes an issue, and there have been some places in this country that have attempted that and are reaping the rewards. I mean, the social experimentation that comes along with that, as I'm sure this will work, and now saying that, oh wait, maybe it didn't, because if you're not then like planning the capacity on the back end, just thinking, I mean, we've heard statements even locally about bring it on or we're prepared, and then no is the answer that has proven out in reality. So if you're not actually planning for it and just kind of saying, well, I'm sure it'll work out, that's not a plan, that's a wish that you're then implementing.
Yes, I believe the famous phrase was, "Let him in. We can handle it." Yeah.
Something
anyway,
to that effect, yeah.
Have a good evening, and I turn the mic back over to you.
All right. Well, appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Likewise.
All right. With that, I think we can squeeze another call or two before we get to the end of the line or the end of the show here today. We do have Marco over in Central on line with us here right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Oh, man, today was such a hectic day.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to talk about it, but I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it in this context, okay?
Okay.
Because just talking about it as Marco, the civilian, the regular person, doesn't matter, okay? So my name is Marco Antonio Contreras, okay? And I'm planning on running for mayor of this city. That's my intention. And I want to talk about what happened today under that light. Today, I had an incident that was a police incident. And the interaction that I and my mother had with our officers, which are great, I want to reiterate this. Our officers in El Paso are awesome. And I'm not about defunding. I'm all about funding and getting more bodies out on the field. That's what I believe. That's what my administration would do. But unfortunately, in like everything else, you always have bad interactions. I had two bad interactions with two officers today. And I thought to myself, you know, I'm an owner of a restaurant. I know somewhat my rights. And some of these officers, man, they escalate. And granted, we weren't even involved in the actions that took place in my restaurant. We were just here. People got arrested, and two of these officers. One was a sergeant, and I know their names. I'm not going to say their names because they work hard, but they do need to try harder. They need to do better, because going from 0 to 100, me as a civilian, I have every right to be upset, and I want every El Paso to know, you as a civilian have the right in an instance to be upset. You shouldn't ever be told to shut up. You shouldn't ever be told disrespected. And this is where I'm coming from. If I'm lucky enough to be mayor of the city, I want everybody to know those actions by officers like that is not acceptable. It's to protect and serve. I know the job is rough. I know the job sometimes can seem like people don't respect you, and they disrespect you. But you as an officer, look, if men were angels, we wouldn't need armies and we wouldn't need the police. But that's not the fact. And our officers need to learn to de-escalate a lot better. I had one officer come in, put his hand on my shoulder, boom, de-escalated like that, just by touching me and saying, hey, brother, it's okay. And I won't give his name, but I do want to give, I hate to put this under that light, but I want our officers to know, do better. You're awesome. Don't do things because you're frustrated. These are bike officers. They're in the sun. I get it. And so just try harder, guys. To those two officers that my interaction went with, try harder, guys. My respect to you all. And I will, if my administration, I will always have your back, period. Funding, bodies, whatever it takes, we're going to make you the best police force in the nation. But I want to give one shout out to Officer Contreras, who gave us awesome years of his life to our police force. His name is Officer Contreras. I don't know his first name. I just know him by Officer Contreras. So if you're out there, congratulations, brother. Thank you very much for your service. And I wish you the best with the rest of your life, brother. Thank you. And thanks a lot, Andrew. The people of El Paso deserve good leadership, and I plan on supplying that.
Fair enough. Well, thank you for the point in the call there and your story on that today. Hope you have a good one.
You too, brother. And 1776, brother.
I'll say this in terms of the issue there. I mean, I have said it and I stand by it that, I mean, much respect to be given to our police, but also there is much required of them. They are given an incredible amount of power over us individually that we give them in preference and due diligence of their duties. And if there's not that a lot, I mean, with great power comes great responsibility, if you want to be really reductionist with it, but it holds true. And if we don't have a lot that is that they're able to capable handle it, again, it's been said before, and I find myself more and more agreeing with it, that a bad cop is worse than no cop. As much as I do not want any less capacity of law enforcement response in our city, there is also the aspect of, well, if we're not doing things right, things can end up being very, very wrong. And again, that's where accountability comes in. And if you don't think that, again, respect for them includes accountability, because people doing things wrong in an official capacity isn't just detrimental to the general public, it's detrimental to the police as an institution and law enforcement overall on its own. And that's why these things, training and the way of handling it. Our news partners at KFOX 14 are doing a whole series on the most recent cadet class for the El Paso Police Department. So hoping we'll be able to check in with them on that progression reporting before too long. But it's significant and important. Tell you what, we can squeeze in one more quick one. We got Richard in the Northeast. Richard, we got about a minute.
I guess just I haven't called you since I was in Oregon on Juneteenth. I want to tell you, when you had the substitute programming, that was very entertaining, number one. The other thing I want to ask you is I tried to email you. I don't know if you've been receiving them, but real quickly, I just wanted to talk about this whole climate thing, climate change. I just hate seeing it getting politicized all the time, and that's what seems to be happening. But the article I sent you is about my hometown.
Oh, yes, yeah.
In Scottsdale, Arizona. I don't know if you received that.
Yeah,
but
did indeed.
Basically, they're limiting the new housing to no lawns because of the water issue.
Right.
And the reason why I'm bringing up, because climate change is just not a political thing all the time. It's just something we should be thinking about, because at some point here in this desert region, we might have to be dealing with things like that, So it's just good to be prepared and informed instead of always trying to go back and forth politically. And, I just want to put that in a synopsis real quick. And I'll let you go because I know it's the end of the show.
Yeah, we're right there. And I did get that article, and I did mention it a little bit earlier, but I do appreciate that. And so anyone wanting to send me stuff, I do take them. I don't always get to all responses, but if it's relevant you want me to, I'll bring it up on the show. My email is andrewpolk@iheartmedia.com. So ANDREWP as in person, OLK at the letter IHEART media.com. And we'll have to leave it there for today because we are super out of time here for this program and this show today. So we got more coming. It's Friday tomorrow. Friday is always coming. And if it ever isn't, we got different problems. And so that means Free for All Friday is going to be on deck there. And we'll talk a lot about more. So probably won't have clips of the whole ethics complaint hearing that are, again, back underway today, but we'll certainly be getting more to it. But we'll have to leave it there for today. Out of time. I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So until then, until next time, I want you all to stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road. And have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Pretty quiet for your Thursday afternoon commute so far today. No major wrecks on your Valley freeways. I-10 eastbound slow, 15-minute delays, Vinton down to red. A crash reported eastbound Montana at Limerick, and slow traffic on Montana eastbound from McRae outside the loop to Zaragoza, 10-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Wendy's BOGO $1 deal. Wendy's BOGO $1 deal is back at participating Wendy's. Buy a Dave's Single, Spicy Chicken Sandwich, 10-piece nugs, or medium frosty, and get another for $1. Double your deliciousness. Hurry, this BOGO deal won't last.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Attend the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom on 3800 Maddox in El Paso, Texas. See dealers selling the finest in modern guns, custom knives, ammo, scopes, rifles, shotguns, and more. Buy, sell, and trade at the El Paso Gun Show this weekend, July 22nd and 23rd at the Forum Ballroom, 3800 Maddox, El Paso, Texas. Get $2 off admission by going to azgunradio.com. That's azgunradio.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-989-8906 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate Activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-989-8906. That's 800-989-8906. What do you have to lose? Call 800-989-8906. Again, 800-989-8906.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly